What's up guys, Rob here and welcome back to the channel. I've got something a little bit different for you today. As some of you might know, we stream over on Twitch most days and we've just started a new save with Austin FC in the MLS. They're the new expansion franchise for the year, so it's a really interesting save to start. And this series over on YouTube is going to be sort of like a summary of what happens over there, a bit of an update as to the ins and outs of transfers, the fixtures, results, things like that. Bits like the draft and the salary cap as well that are all a bit different in the MLS compared to some of the normal leagues we play in. There might be some highlights with some cup games and things like that depending on how we're getting on in those. But if you want to see all of the games and the save in a bit more detail, then come over and visit us on Twitch at twitch.tv/offthebarfm and yeah, come and join us over there. So with all that said, let's get into the first episode of the series. So here we are on our main club page at Austin FC. We've officially taken charge of the club. We've gone through pre-season, which I'll show you what we've done so far. But in terms of where the club stands, it was founded in 2021, as I said earlier. It's the new expansion franchise of the MLS. So relatively new. In terms of facilities, we have a 20,000 all-seater stadium, Austin FC Stadium. We still have to pay rent for it each year. But we've got a decent stadium to start with. In terms of training facilities and youth facilities, both good. The academy coaching and youth recruitment could both do some work over the coming years, so that'll be something we'll be looking at. In terms of history, we've obviously got no history, so something to build on, fresh start. In terms of what we've currently got at the club, our captain Daniel Anderson, he was here when we got here. He's a good player, 28 years old, so coming into his prime really, a good centre attacking mid. Our key player, Cecilio Dominguez, this guy's a very good player, can play out wide or through the middle. He's got good physicals, good mentals and reasonable technicals as well, so he's going to be a good player for us, very important for the coming season. And our hot prospect is Richard Magali, who came from our youth, Austin FC Youth Academy I think it is. It's a bit of a weird setup with that. You have to sign the players from them. So this guy, he's a fullback with lots of potential, only 16 years old and really good physicals already. So we're hoping that he can develop into a good player for us for future seasons. In terms of transfers, if we go in here, obviously with the MLS, one of the quirks of the system is that you have the draft system. So as a new team joining the league, we took part in the expansion draft. And we picked these 5 players from other MLS clubs. So we picked Bono in goal. He's a decent goalkeeper, 26 years old, so plenty of time left in his career. Well-rounded keeper and a good starting point for us. Noah Powder, a left-back. He's a relatively young player, 22 years old, plenty of potential as well, but already a really good left-back, so he's looking like a good player for us. Romney brings a bit of experience and quality at centre-back. He can also play left and right back, but he's mainly going to be used through the centre, especially with the youngster that we just showed playing at left back. He's good all-rounded centre back really. Can't really complain too much about him. Hassani Dotson, this guy's a well-rounded centre mid. He's not exceptional. For the MLS, he's showing as 3.5 star, 4-star player. So he's pretty good, and he's very versatile as well. He can fill in a lot of positions. So if we have injury crisis or anything like that, he can fill in and help us out there. And the last player we got through the expansion draft is Castellanos. This guy is very, very good. He's, as you can see, for a striker, his technicals are fantastic. Physicals aren't too bad. He's very quick, which is good. Fitness might be an issue late on in games, so he may well be coming off sort of in the 60th, 70th minute every sort of game, just to try and keep him fit. But again, he can play in a variety of positions. So a versatile, useful player. So once we've done the expansion draft, we then took part in the super draft, they call it. So this is sort of their equivalent to like the NBA draft, the NFL draft. And we picked, with the first pick, as the new franchise, we picked up Zach Brown. Now this guy's a young centre-back, 19 years old, stacks of potential, but already a reasonably solid centre-back. He's not going to set the world alight just yet, but he's got good heading, good tackling. Marking needs a bit of work, and his physicals are coming round nicely as well. So he could be a really good player for us and was well worth the #1 pick in the draft. Elsewhere, we picked up David Rudland, another centre-back, a bit more depth there. Alcantara is going to be another central midfielder, reasonably well-rounded, not quite as good as the lad we just showed you who we drafted in the expansion draft. And then Zimmerman brings us a bit of depth on the wing. May develop into a good player in the future, and his physicals are pretty good already, so he could be a good super sub late on in games. So yeah, he looks pretty solid as well. In terms of other transfers, you're looking at Jimmy Mulligan, came in, bit of experience at left back. He's played in the league for a few different teams, but he comes in really well-rounded left back, provides us with cover and could well be a starter at points as well if we want him to be, but more as a mentor to the youngster we drafted. Elsewhere, Joshua Pinadath is a good attacking midfielder. This guy can play anywhere across those three. Again, 19 years old, looking to develop him into the future. All these guys are relatively cheap contracts, which when you've got the salary cap like we do in the MLS, it's always good to have that sort of space in the cap really. And this guy, Ariel Fantoni, is another excellent player that we brought in. This guy, he's centre attacking mid mainly, he would do a good job on either of the wings as well. Good pace, good technicals. This guy's got a lot of potential at 22 years old, so we're hoping that he can be a star player for us now, but also a key player for us with seasons to come. We've also brought in a couple of others. Brought in Burke Gilroy at right back. That was an area we identified as a bit of a weakness, and this guy looks like a pretty solid player. Again, relatively cheap, still quite young as well, so he's got plenty of years ahead of him. And the other one that we've brought in for a transfer fee is Santander. And this guy is a really well-rounded player. Lots of 10s on the board. I think we counted up on stream about 10 or 11 10s. So hopefully he can do a good job for us in the centre. More central than he will out on the wing, but again, versatile player, so it's always good to have. Elsewhere in the squad, looking at players that we've sort of had already at the club. Redes was the one that really stood out. This guy's a youngster as well, 21 years old. And he looks very, very good on the wings. Absolutely exceptional physicals. And then, yeah, his technicals are good in the right areas. And hopefully a player that's going to develop into this potential ability that he's showing. So, a really good player for the future. Elsewhere, there wasn't too many exceptional players in the squad. There's a couple of other youngsters we've signed from our youth academy that might get some game time later on. But mainly we're looking at the guys I've just shown you to really sort of lead the team forwards. In terms of where we are in the season, we've obviously done pre-season and transfer window. Transfer window's still open as far as I'm aware, but we've got to register the squad and get our head round all of those bits for the next episode. Ready for our game against Montreal Impact, our first ever game in the MLS, away from home. And then followed up in a week's time with our first ever home game in our inaugural season against Seattle Sounders at home. So a tough start to the season. If we take a look at the MLS structure, we sit in the Western Conference with some big names such as LA Galaxy, LAFC. So there's some big teams there. I didn't show the club vision, but in terms of what the board expect of us, they expect us to finish bottom of the league. So anything we manage this season, they're going to be happy with. So it gives us a blank canvas to start from. I'd like to think we might finish slightly higher than bottom of the league. But if that's what they want from us, then we can't really fail, can we? So with all of that said, that's all there is for today's episode. If you want to come and see the series in a bit more depth, then head across over to Twitch. Like I said earlier on, we're streaming most days during the day and a couple of evenings a week as well, over at twitch.tv/offthebar. There'll be a link down in the description for that as well. So pop across and see us over there, get involved in the chat, say hello. And yeah, I will see you all next time.